Hi gang, we're gonna do a Finish It Friday today, and I grabbed some fleece from my cupboard. This is a Boreray, that should be an A, I spelt it wrong. Fleece, there's about 100 grams here. So while our water is heating, I just thought we'd go over a few little Boreray facts from, our Bible, the Fleece and Fiber Source Book. So this is an island sheep. It comes from St. Kilda. So those are 4 small islands, and one of them is the Boreray. The staple is 2 to 6 inches. This one looks really quite long. There's not enough data, but they suggest 23 to 32 microns, which is a fairly coarse fleece at the 32 micron end. But they did have one that was 17.9 microns. So there is a lot of variance in this. So the locks are indistinct and quite open, having slightly pointed tips, and may have the sticky base and characteristics of a fleece that sheds. So these fleeces might be rude and they might not, so we'll find out when we get into it. So they're creamy white, tan, gray, sometimes dark brown. It's hard to tell without the fleece being washed, but I'm going to guess this is like the creamy white to tan variation. I'm guessing leaning more towards the tan, because even with the lanolin in it, this is still fairly dark. So colors are going to be influenced by the underlying tone, and they suggest preparation and spinning tips is going to depend on the fleece. So open up the butt ends and then see where you go from there. They're recommending it for hard wearing things like tweeds, rugs, pillows, sample stuff. But if you get one of the softer ends of the fleece, then you could use it for next to the skin. So this again has been sitting in my cabinet for probably like a year. So it's probably going to be quite sticky with lanolin. Oh, this is coarse. Yeah, this is very coarse. There's a little bit of debris I'm just going to pick right out before I even put it in the wash. But the hand is quite coarse, but you can see the lanolin is actually balled and beaded up. So yeah, this is going to be tricky to wash, but again, we're going to do the 2 washes and then dye, because for some reason that dyeing with the citric acid seems to just pull out any of the last of the lanolin and just make it really nice. So that's what we're going to do. I will be back when we're ready to put the fleece in the water. So I know from last time that 2 kettles is going to be enough to do the 100 grams of fleece. So while the second kettle is boiling, I'm going to get my unicorn power scour. Oops, there's a little bit of dye in that. Let me get that out. I think it's time for me to gather all my dye tools and give them all a really good bath. I do that periodically, but for the most part, a rinse is enough to keep them clean. So I am going to use half a teaspoon. Again, I'm using a lot of scour because this has been sitting there for quite some time. So, and these bottles are also not airproof, so my scour is actually concentrated because it's been thickening up over time. Oh, I love the smell of unicorn power scour. Okay. Now I'm just going to wait for that second kettle to boil. We'll add it in and then we'll get our fleece in. Since we're also going to dye this fleece, I'm going to pull out my new dyes. And we're going to see what colors we're going to use today. Alright, so these ones we've used, so we're going to take them out of the mix. So we have our fluorescence and our black light blue. I I'm drawn to the teal. I want to do teal. And then we'll want to have a counter color. Let's try salmon. I know that sounds weird, and it may turn out hideous, but we're going to try teal and salmon. And we're going to try teal and salmon because that's what I want to do, and I said so. So, you know, we'll see what happens. Okay, our second kettle is done. So we're going to add that to our pot. And now it's time to add our fleece. So this is our Boreray. So there is debris in this fleece. It's not as clean as the textile was, but it's a sheep. It's to be expected. And it's just sinking in there so nicely. Yeah, this is a very coarse fleece. It's going to be interesting to see how it takes the dye. You can see how coarse it is. But that's all right. I like all the sheeps. I like trying them all. Okay, so we'll just push this down into that hot soapy water. And we're going to let that cook for 15 minutes. I'm just looking for my lid. There we go. So I'll be back in 15 minutes. So while we're waiting, I decided to mix up, I don't know if you can see it, some teal and some salmon. The teal just looks black, but trust me, it's a gorgeous teal. And the salmon is like an orangey color. So those are going to be the colors that I'm going to use. I might add a little more salmon to that to make it a deeper shade, but for the moment, that's what I'm dealing with. The teal is very saturated. It came out quite dark, but I'm not upset about that. Okay, back to waiting. So our 15 is up. Oof, that's some icky water. So I'm going to put this to drain, get the fresh water in. I'm going to use the same amount of power scour again to get all that lanolin out, although it looks like it's melting pretty good. And then we'll wait another 15 and then we'll get on with the dyeing, which is the part I'm excited about. Who cares about washing fleece? I just want to play with color. Okay, so I'll be back when it's color time. So our fleece has definitely got a creamy white tannish hue to it. And it's definitely got lots of the field in it. So we'll put that aside. But our water is ready. So we will put in our first pot, get our second pot heating. I had a lock try to escape. So we'll add some citric acid. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons and mix that up. All right. Oh, there's Tay. What's the shouting about? I'm going to put the teal on the bottom and the salmon on the top. Just because I want to. What's up, Tay? Oh, that's so pretty. It looks way bluer on the camera than it is in actual real life, but that's all right. We're going to put some fleece in there. Roughly half. And we're going to push that down in there. I do the Canadian thing where the end of all my sentences become questions. Push that down in there. I know it's annoying. I'm sorry, but I'm Canadian. It's what I do. So we'll let that sit while the second kettle heats. It's exhausting fairly quickly, but it is a very, very pretty color. Quite like it. All right, I will be back when we're ready to add our salmon. So our kettle is almost ready, and the dye bath has pretty much exhausted. I'm really impressed with these colors. They work very well. Okay, so I will add some more water. That's probably enough. And then I'm going to throw in the second half of the fleece. I'm just going to push that down first. Get that all into the citric acid water. And now we will add our salmon. That's pretty. I like that color. Okay. So there we go. It's exhausting already. Just push the edges down a bit. And we will let that cook for a little bit and come back and check in about 10 minutes and see how it's doing. So I'm filling the sink for the wash. There's just the teeniest bit of color left in there. But mostly it's just the remainders of the dirt because I didn't rinse it. But look at this piece. It's got that tinge of salmon on top, blending into the teal. I think I might have to dye a braid like that because that is gorgeous. All right, I'm going to get it washed and I'll be back to show you. So as I was washing, I found it. The dreaded scurf. No! It's okay. We will comb it out. There's quite a bit of it. But apparently that can be quite common with this fleece, so not unexpected. All right, I'm going to throw that back in the bath. So here we go, final results. I love the way the teal and the, what do we call it? Salmon. The way they blend together, like that is so pretty. Now this is super coarse fleece, super coarse and very stringy. It clings to everything. But this would make a very good rough and tumble yarn. And I'm very, very happy with these dyes. I like the way that it's a gradient in the locks. I think that's going to look cool when it's spun up. So I'm thinking we use these multi-tone pieces as the blend color. So spin it teal to the blend to the salmon. It might be fun, or it might be fun to do a barber pole. We'll see. Anyways, I'm going to set this out to dry and we will process it on another day as it is actually Friday and I want to get this video edited and uploaded for you guys. I just had to play with some dyes this morning. I've got a lot of jobs on the go, but I wanted to have some fun. So I have had my fun. Now, I guess it's time for work. So Thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Finish It Friday. Even though it's not quite finished, it's still now in a usable state. I think that counts. Another project. Woohoo! So thanks for joining me, and I shall see you in the next video, guys. Bye!